Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So following on from the most brutal Space Marine chapters, I think it's only logical that we do the most kindest Space Marine chapters. This list is small because of course Space Marines are as a whole very brutal. I know they're there to protect humanity as a whole, but the way I see it is like when I say kindest, I really mean like kind of humanitarian chapters that will go beyond the call of duty to protect humans. They won't sacrifice humans to see the objective of winning a battle, a war against Chaos or a Xenos force. You know, they will actually put the humans on the planet or wherever they are before the absolute objective of winning. So this is my small list about that. So let's jump in and let's get talking. So we have to start, of course, with the Salamanders. Everyone watching this video now is thinking Salamanders. It is the most logical one to start with because when you think about Space Marines going beyond the call of duty, helping humanity, Salamanders are the first one that pops into your mind. It pops into my mind because what they do as a whole for humanity, they're very, very different when it comes into terms of how they socialize as a chapter. What you normally find is that the majority of Space Marine chapters will kind of lock themselves away in their fortress monitories, won't really have anything to do with the general population. I'm not saying like they completely cut off from humanity, but they rather keep themselves to themselves and their practices to themselves, where the Salamanders are completely different. They're actually like intertwined with the population of their planet of Nocturne socially, and also, you know, in like a protective type of way. They're there to protect the humanity, so they've got to try and interact with humanity as much as possible, and that is really like bred into them then from that early age in the Promethean Creed to, you know, put humanity forward. We've seen this plenty of times, one being of course on Armageddon at Hell's Reach, the famous Battle of Hell's Reach, with Chaplain Grimaldus, where Chaplain Grimaldus wanted to push forward and deal with an orc threat, and he needed the Salamanders to assist him, who landed in Hell's Reach at the time, but the Salamanders said no, we're going nowhere, we're staying at this bunker entrance where the humanity from Hell's Reach was actually, you know, staying in and you know, taking cover from the orc invasion. And if the Salamanders were to leave that, even though if they were successful at killing the orc leader in that area, it would leave the humans in that shelter really vulnerable, and that is a risk they weren't willing to take. So they chose to protect humanity, and Grimaldus got furious and chucked them out of his bloody... Well, they were leaving anyway, but he told them to get out of his city and stuff. But there you go. It just goes to show how awesome they can be when it comes to protecting humanity. And briefly, just for another little glimpse of like how they go beyond that and they will challenge people with their protection of humanity. I briefly spoke about this last week in the most brutal Space Marine chapters with the Marines Malevolent, where they open fire on the civilian population to wipe out an orc threat. They didn't care, they just wanted to kill the orcs and stuff. And Chapter Master Toussaint was massively furious at this, and he went over to the captain of the Marines Malevolent. It was so-called, he apparently challenged him to an honor duel because of his actions that, you know, killed a bunch of civilians, a bunch of refugees that were trying to come to the Marines for help. Now, another chapter which I think is very humanitarian in their actions are the Space Wolves. Now, a lot of people get confused when you talk about Space Wolves because they look like savages. Because they look like beasts means they must be beasts. They must be these savages, but they're not. They actually are very, very protective of humanity. They respect like the warrior code. On Fenris, they take care of their civilization as much as they can. One of the biggest evidence of this is during the First War of Armageddon. This is probably like the standoff of all standoffs. So for people who are not aware, during the First War of Armageddon, it wasn't orcs, there was no Ghazghkull, there was nothing like that. It was chaos. It was Angron and the demonic forces of Khorne who were unleashed on Armageddon. And what happened? The Grey Knights turned up. They've lost a massive amount of numbers. I think it was like 500 Grey Knights sacrificed themselves to banish Angron back into the warp. I think one Grey Knight survived, a chap called Hyperion. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It may have been more numbers or less numbers. But what happened after that, after the Chaos army was defeated, the Inquisition got involved. And we all know what happens when the Inquisition get involved. People start to go missing. Now, the Space Wolves fought on this planet to defend it, to defend the humans on the planet. The humans who stood with the Space Wolves grew great respect for them. The Space Wolves grew great respect for the humans who stood and died beside them. You know, they had mutual respect. But the Inquisition came in and they wanted to silence the humans who have witnessed this great act of chaos, because of course they want to keep chaos all hush hush. So the Inquisition was going to wipe out the human population which had witnessed the chaos stuff. But the Space Wolves, being Space Wolves, say no, these chaps have fought with honor, protected the humans. And of course the Inquisition from this got absolutely furious, and a full-on war nearly erupted between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition because of the Space Wolves wanting to protect the humans of that planet. And it actually nearly came to the end of the Space Wolves. The Inquisition launched a fleet upon Fenris itself. The Grey Knights were there backing them up, and the only reason it really came down to it, where nothing got stopped, beyond the glorious dreadnought that he is, boarded among one of the flagships and basically told everyone to sit the hell down and start speaking to each other. Bjorn had this great line, something on the lines of like, you know, calling the Emperor God is how this bloody mess started in the first place. But, you know, wiser words prevailed and they stopped that. But for me, that is one of the actions which really puts into perspective how awesome the Space Wolves can be. And again, I go back to the first point I made. Just because they look like monsters doesn't mean they should be treated as monsters. They're there to look like monsters to the bad guys, not to the good guys. They're there to unleash that savagery on the Emperor's enemies, not on the Emperor's friends. And the next chapters, there's a couple more chapters yet, but the Imperial Fist and the Crimson Fist. Quickly with the Crimson Fist has great dedication to its citizens, just like the Salamanders did, and you know Fenris did to its worlds. They tried to help their citizens so much with the Battle of Rindsworld. There's certain stories like with the Chapter Master. I think he assisted a father and a daughter, if I'm not mistaken. Like he carried them through like all the battle rubble and stuff like that. An amazing thing. I just love reading stuff about that with Space Marines, because it really just show like they are the Emperor's angels, these big gene-enhanced looking monsters coming down and protecting like the fragile humans of the planet that they're there to protect. Now, onto the Imperial Fist. No, this is not my fandom taking over. I really was taken by a story with the Imperial Fist around the fall of Cadia. Now, when Cadia fell, the planet blew up. We all know this. And the refugees from that planet, some of them managed to get aboard of the Phalanx. Now, what the Imperial Fist did, instead of like just dropping them off at like the next Imperial world and like, right, off you go, they actually took them in as part of like the chapter to establish more or less a new homeworld or a new life on board the Phalanx, to get them back on their feet, to give them a sense of, you know, a new type of honor of service. And the Cadians on that ship have swore loyalty to the Imperial Fist. They saw this as like a great act of honor, and you know they took it among themselves to like, you know, work for the Imperial Fist and make sure they do their bloody best to protect the Phalanx, because that is their new home now. And for me as an Imperial Fist guy, that is absolutely awesome, because the Phalanx is of course more populated than ever. That means it's more battle readiness, but also it has a garrison of troopers that are absolutely loyal to the task that is being served of the Phalanx and of the Imperial Fist of like the Order of Dornian's gene lineage. Now, I know people are going to say, but what about like the Ultramarines? What about the Blood Angels? Yes, you're completely right. Those chapters are very, very kind to the humans as well. Ultramar, of course, has an entire society. The 500 worlds, all based on that. I haven't like put them at the top of the list, because that is just a part of their society as a whole. They've been doing that since like the Great Crusade. Same with the Blood Angels. Even though the Blood Angels are not as entwined like the Ultramarines, they're still like the bastions of humanity. But during the devastation of Baal, they were winding up civilians to take him back into the Fortress Monastery to try and help as much of the population as possible. Really, again, when you look at this as Space Marines as a whole, they're all there to protect humanity, but it's those certain chapters that go beyond the Call of Duty, as I've been mentioning, that I wanted to make this video for, that really stand out and really give like a new sense of honor to the humans that they're there to protect. So please don't be offended if I've like forgot your favorite chapter. I'm sorry. Please post it down below in the comment section if you have a chapter that I've missed out that I should read upon, and the great effort that they did to protect humanity. I would love to read about it because I love reading stuff about Space Marines going beyond the bloody Call of Duty. Anyway, this is me done for another video. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. I think the next video, like the probably end to this type of little mini-series, let's call it, is probably going to be the most unluckiest Space Marine chapters. I think we can all guess what kind of yellow chapter is going to be number one on that list. But until that day, let's leave it there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts, feedback, everything like that down in the comment section, and we'll have a nice chat down there as we always do. See you now. Have a great day, and bye-bye.